And good day, everybody. It's Brother Chris here. And I do have a special guest in studio right now. But before we get to the special guest, we're going to be talking about Canada. Canada is one of the best country actually out of North America. Since Trump's actually in my head right now, he wants to take over Canada and call it the 51st state, which is not correct. But I love what Gypsy lady has said off camera. And she's turned around and she said, well, why don't you guys say to Donald J. Trump, though, that, sure, we'll become part of the 51st state, but we have to keep everything all the same. Right? And if I say that to a lot of people, they'll be like, heck no way. But we'll be right back after this quick commercial break, and we're going to be dealing with Canada itself. Hey everyone, check out our merchandise that we have now listed underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com. We used to be on Etsy, but we found a little bit of troubles with that, so we are now on HauntingLivePodcast.com with our merch store. Check it out. We've got so much items all together with cleansing items and crystals and so much more. Check us out, HauntingLivePodcast.com. Alright, so right now in the studio though we have Gillian actually in. Jill has actually been on a couple podcasts of ours, and she's done a lot of traveling though. She just recently last year drove from Ontario all the way out to Victoria, BC. So that is Vancouver Island. But I don't like using the word Vancouver Island. I love Victoria, so.
Yeah, well, Victoria is the southern part of the island. Vancouver is northern part of the island. So when you're going to Victoria, you're going on the island. So it's considered island to the islanders.
Yes, yeah. So it's like, gosh, I just call it Vicky. That's the whole thing. Yeah. You've done a lot of traveling here in Canada, more than what I have done. I know about certain areas because I've taken the Graham back, actually from Victoria all the way back here years ago.
Yeah.
Now the thing though is you just went out just recently out there.
Yeah, I drove my daughter out for college aspirations to Camosun College. I'm plugging the Camosun College. Was my grandfather's school. So she really wanted to go and live with my granny, well, her great-grandmother, on my mom's side. So I thought, you know what? She wants to go to college. I'm not going to stop her. I'm going to say, here, let's go. Be free, my bird. Be free. And so we decided to take it upon ourselves to do the typical family vacation holiday drive. And when I tell you it was our typical holiday vacation adventure, it was full of adventure. We packed the car, we started going, and it takes about 3 days of driving for a single person to get out of Ontario. And then you're looking at another 2 to 3 days drive to the other side of BC towards the ferry dockings into Swassen Bay. So it's a lot of driving. But you're going to love the countryside if you drive. I highly recommend the drive. You have a good vehicle that has good gas mileage. When you get across the prairies, you're going to save a crap ton of fuel because it's all flat, basically. The salt mine area, you're going to smell the sulfur and you're going to go, oh, what is that smell? And the kids are going to make fun of it and everything. But highly recommend, stop everywhere and just spend a week trying to get out there. If you've got the summer off with your kids, take off and go. It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, Ontario, though, of what I've learned, though, it is the largest province, not state. It is the largest province.
It is. Getting out of Ontario, it does take 3 days because you've got to go around the lake. And we've got 3 big lakes in Ontario, and to get anywhere, you got to go around them. You just can't drive over them. And taking a ferry, you can take the Chichimen ferry from Tobermory across to Manitoulin Island, and then you're about an hour and a bit across the island to the other side to Espanola. And then you can grab the Highway 17 or Trans-Canada Highway in either direction to Sudbury or off to Sault Ste. Marie. So at that point, it's a decision which way you want to go. You can continue going north, go south, go east, go west. You got choices.
Yeah. So last year I went actually up to Sault Ste. Marie. So there is two Ste. Maries. There is one in Michigan and also one in Ontario. So the one I went to was actually in Ontario. And from this one, though, is going up to the Sioux. It's a beautiful scenery. Like what Gillian was saying, though, is along one of the Great Lakes, and that's Lake Superior. Now, to get around Lake Superior, though, is a very long drive.
Yes.
So.
It's about 14 hours from Sault Ste. Marie to Thunder Bay, and then an additional 4 to 6 hours from Thunder Bay to the Manitoba-Ontario border, depending on your speed, traffic, how often you stop, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
But again, I hate to interrupt. The drive is gorgeous, and it's worth the trip. The kids will love it.
Yeah. So you might have seen videos actually on YouTube to do with going basically from, say, Toronto all the way up to Thunder Bay or even across Canada videos from Toronto. Now, the thing, though, is, like what you were saying, though, is the Chi-Chi-Mon. The Chi-Chi-Mon, it's a short distance, though, but if you literally look at it, though, you're only saving a couple of minutes of drive compared to driving all the way around.
Oh no, you're
no,
saving,
you are
saving a lot of time. It's 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours to Tobermory, and then you're on the boat for 2 hours, and by then you've cut out all that driving time and you've saved gas. What you spend in gas, you spend on the boat, depending on the cost and depending on size of vehicle, but you also get a break.
Yeah.
And when you drive around the lake, there's not a lot of braking. There's a section where there is no gas stations, no cell service for hours on end. So I'd rather be on a boat with no cell service than driving with no cell service.
Yeah. So again, though, is Ontario. So we're going to start from Ontario, going actually out west. So Ontario, though, is really beautiful. And the funny thing, though, is right when I went out, though, is I went out with my husband, and he turned around and said, "Oh, look at the mountains." Now, for myself, though, what I saw driving up in northern Ontario, those really weren't mountains, those were hills.
Rocks and cliffs and rock hills.
Yeah, compared to what we're going to be going to a little bit later, which is actually Alberta, and which is the Rockies. Now, what would you say, though, not only with Ontario, but going across Canada, what would you say, basically, though, is couple of stops, though, on the way, though, that you would recommend directly?
Okay, well, I transitioned from the Trans-Canada Highway to the lower highway of Highway, I think it's 3, going through Manitoba, and there is a lot of small towns, so I couldn't name them all without a map in front of me, but I was making a lot of pit stops along the way. I believe it's Manitoba. They have the largest dinosaur exhibit. If it's not that, it might be Saskatchewan. I could be messing it up there. But they do have the largest T-Rex in the country that is there around the world, along with the dinosaur museum and everything. They actually have a, what do you call it, search, where you get stamps on your card. I'm sorry, the words aren't there for me, but you basically start at the information desk. They give you a map, and you literally go around the city getting stamps, getting pictures of everything, and then at the end you take it back to the information desk, and then they'll give you like a little gift or a little prize for finishing the tour of the city, and it brings a tourist in, and they've got so much to visit there. That's one place I would definitely say go to. Lower parts of Saskatchewan, everybody makes Saskatchewan this big thing, but you're forgetting that there's still southern parts of Saskatchewan that have a lot of bonus. Driving through the prairies, there's a lot of small towns too, and they have some good educational places. Oh, I did miss one place in Manitoba. You definitely want to hit the, no, sorry, it was in Thunder Bay. No, where is it? I can't remember. But Winnie the Pooh place.
Yeah, so that's actually Ontario, and that's White River.
Yeah.
So that's actually after Wawa, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm kind of going out of order, but
yeah. So basically, though, is for that there, it's a good point though that you brought that up though. The reason is because a lot of people think Winnie the Pooh was actually to do with England. But no, Winnie the Pooh was found in Ontario at White River. That is one thing, though, that is with Canadian history, though, that they don't really teach you in schools unless you actually travel on the Trans-Canada, and you stop off this location and you learn the true Canadian history. So.
Yeah, and it's Paddington Bear is the UK. The UK version of Winnie is Paddington Bear.
Yeah.
So.
Hey everyone, it's Brother Chris here from Divine Oracle Podcast. Join me Mondays as I do readings, and I post them right here in the Podbean. It's easy, it's good lighting, and it's your weekly readings. So join me, will you?
Follow us here at Haunting Live. Our new show, we just started doing new shows in November, and we are honored to have a brand new co-host on our shows now. Yolanta Mary is our co-host, and she does a lot of work for us on the side and introduces people to the show and discusses different topics on the show. So we're really happy to have her here this season. So go check out our brand new episodes at our host of Haunting Live podcast.
All right, so yes, we were just talking about the White River location. Again, that was a great location for history. Now, the next province, though, is Manitoba.
Manitoba is after Ontario, and it's, again, depending on when you go, you've got wheat fields, you've got soy fields, you've got so many flower fields. Like, harvest season is, they're just finishing planting and things are growing. I have a place that we call the Happy Sunshine province, and it goes from Manitoba through Saskatchewan into Alberta. It's like it's an ever-ending row of yellow flowers. We didn't know what they were until we learned that they were the soybean flower. Bright, yellow, bold, and when you saw the field, you just were happy. Didn't matter what your clouds looked like, you were happy. You're just getting excited. You go, oh, there's green over the hill. Mom, what's that? No, that's yellow, not green, my child. It's yellow, and we're happy now. So, the one place that we got to, we stopped in Alberta at a hotel one time, and the hotel was fabulous. We ended up getting it for free, just because I guess they didn't see the room up to par, which was kind of cool. But we stayed there for a couple hours after we had gotten some sleep. We had dinner, and then we left in the morning, and we did a little bit of a quick tour of the town. It's kind of just before the border of BC and Alberta. So once we got into the border, and you don't know when you're going from BC and Alberta, you don't know. There's no sign that says welcome to BC. It's just next thing you know, you're hitting the base of the Rocky Mountains. And you look up and you see nothing but mountains. It's like, holy, where did they come from? You look behind you and you see nothing but flat land. So, yeah.
Now, the Rocky Mountains, though, for most people, though, that don't really know about it, since you guys are listening overseas and all that, the Rocky Mountains are pretty much the largest mountains here in Canada. They are so gorgeous, though. There's grays actually in there. You can actually sort of see like as long as you're driving on the road, though, you can see where there's caves in there. If you're into caving, it's awesome. But if you go up to the top, though, it's a lot of snow. I flew over top of it, so that's what I did right when I flew out to BC, out to Victoria, and then came back actually on Greyhound at the time, right when Greyhound was allowed. But yeah, it's a different eye view, and it's good though that you brought up the Rockies.
Yeah, the Jasper, BC, that's in the northern parts of the Rockies. I made the mistake first time in 2020 driving around Jasper, and that added about 8 hours to my trip. I missed the boat going across when we got back, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to come back. We're going to go through the south part of the Rockies, and we found some gorgeous places. There's a place called Castlegar, BC. I'm going to push this one. It's awesome. I had a car breakdown last summer, and they took care of me at the Toyota plant, or the Toyota dealership. They were awesome. I ended up getting a rental car, and we ended up finishing our travels while they fixed my car. And then, I ended up having a lot of drive to Victoria, and then back to Castlegar, back to Victoria to pick up the car and go home to my granny's. They're awesome. They have so much history there. I spoke to a lady, and she had moved in there in 1957. and had her couple of kids, and she pretty much spent her entire life there. You could walk the entire distance of Castlegar. They did have a busing service, or they do. Most of the time it's train and plane, that not a lot of people drive in unless they're actually coming to visit somebody. It's one of those places, if you don't take the cutoff, you're going to miss it completely. But because I had a car breakdown, we were in the the Crow's Nest Pass, 2.5 hours away, and Castlegar was the closest major city with a Canadian Tire, because I have Canadian Tire Auto Club, and it was the closest one in the direction I was going. And we spent 5 days there during a heat wave, and the fire that was happening in the mountains a few miles away, they ended up getting evacuated to all the surrounding areas, so the hotels were filling up pretty quick, the restaurants were filling up. It became a very busy time during that Canada Day weekend.
Yeah.
Not Canada Day, sorry, Civic Holiday weekend.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, so basically going from Alberta into British Columbia, though, that you don't notice, like, sort of what you were saying. Right, but it's beautiful. And also, though, is what you were saying, though, that there's no sign, so you don't know what the time zone is, really. You, like Ontario, though, we're actually underneath Eastern Standard Time. And what time's BC?
They're, I think, the Pacific Standard Time.
Yes, they are, yeah.
And they're 3 hours behind, and you don't know when you're losing your hours as you're driving. And next thing you know, you're calling up your family in Ontario and going, hey, yeah, it's so-and-so time here. Oh, so you're an hour behind us now. Oh, yeah, I didn't know when I lost time. But you lose time about Thunder Bay. Between Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay, you lose an hour.
No, it's actually after Thunder Bay.
Is it?
Yeah, it's after Thunder Bay, going actually over to Manitoba.
Oh, yeah. So,
sorry for correcting you.
Yeah, no,
air.
it's just because my phone, it would update, and between Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay, it showed an hour behind. And then it shows the time difference between Ontario and Manitoba. It shows the actual time, because I actually came in on that, and it says your time now is changing.
Yeah,
You're now going ahead an hour.
No, Thunder Bay is actually Eastern Standard, but
Yeah.
but it's actually in between Thunder Bay and also Manitoba. But yeah, going into Victoria, though, you have some hills there, which I call hills, but some people call them mountains. But the thing, though, is driving along some of the roads, so they're really windy.
Oh, yes.
They're very windy.
Rally Road windy. Very, very windy Rally Road. Although I will give credit where it's due, in the mountains, they do get to 100 kilometers an hour. Their standard speed's 110, so I was kind of in my happy zone. I like speeding, so had a reason to speed. Trans-Canada Highway, it's 100, 110 throughout all the provinces except for Ontario. Ironically, this is why it takes so long to get through Ontario, because the speed on the Trans-Canada doesn't get beyond 90. It goes from 110 to 90, and in some places sticks to 80, and that's where you lose all your time.
Yeah.
And then it picks up again in Quebec, back up to 100, 110, all the way across. So Ontario is typically your slowdown.
Yeah. Now, the question, though, is with BC, though. Did you guys drive into Victoria, or did you guys go around to go to the ferry?
Well, you can't drive into Victoria without crossing the ferry.
So not Victoria, sorry, Vancouver, I'm sorry.
We didn't drive into Vancouver, but we did drive in the direction of Vancouver, but we drove straight to Tsawwassen Bay, and Schwartz, and then across to Schwartz Bay. So.
Okay, right. Now, I know that TransCanada does go into Calgary, kind of, like that area, right? Did you do the bypass, or did you go straight into Calgary?
Oh, I do the bypass. I don't go major highway all the way in. I will take the bypass and go around it, because it's busy. It's kind of like your downtown Toronto, your Ottawa, like all your major cores. It's busy. I'm not going to lie, it's busy.
Right,
a lot of people.
Right. Now, to get from Vancouver over to Victoria, there is a couple of ferries, though. And these ferries are quite big. Now, some people think ferries, though, are a small size, but these ones are a pretty good size. 2 floors of vehicles, I'm pretty sure of it. Or is it 3?
3 to 4, depending on the ferry you get. Some are 2, but their standard is 3. And they have 4 loading zones.
So that's how big this ship is, right?
They're huge, and they run every hour in the summer peak season, and then every 2 to 3 hours in the off season, so wintertime, and then they actually cut down to 3 ferry crossing instead of 5.
Yeah. Now what you do though is you go from the Vancouver area, you end up actually into the lower portion of Victoria.
Depending on the ferry you take will depend on which ferry bay you end up in.
So, now the thing though is, how far away was your destination from basically the airport?
From the airport, which is not too far from the ferry docking in Victoria. Are you talking the Victoria or the Vancouver, BC?
So I'm talking about Vicky.
Okay, so Victoria Airport to Langford is about 40 minutes, give or take.
Yeah. And then from the airport going up to the ferry, though, is another 15 minutes. So
yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
Depends on traffic.
So again, though, is Victoria, though, I will be taking Trevor actually out there. He's never ever gone out there.
Farthest he's been is Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's gonna actually have his eyes open, and it's gonna be a good thing though. The reason why is because not only living actually in one province, but get out to different provinces right now, especially for what's going actually on. I know us Canadians though, we are actually staying. We always say right now, like we're saying right now. Sorry about that. Stay in Canada.
Stay local.
Yeah, there is a lot of things to do with in Canada that you can do, though, that you can do also within the States. There's a lot more beauty in Canada than what there is in the States altogether. I've traveled throughout the States quite a bit right when I was a younger kid. In Canada, basically, those opens up your eyes.
We have a lot of space. We have a lot of land space up here, so we have a lot of areas that we can go and explore and hike and fish. Oh, by the way, for you fisherwomen out there, I can't tell you, there is a lot of lakes and rivers and creeks everywhere to go fishing. So get your licenses across Canada, get your Canadian license that does all the provinces, and just stop at the rest stops, go fishing. They have a spot for you to barbecue your fish or cook your fish right there. A place to rest, sleep. Oh, yeah, I can't tell you enough. It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, since you're driving out with 2 kids, right?
The second time, 2 kids.
Yeah.
First time was 3.
So the second time, so just recently, yeah, it was with 2 kids, right? Minus the work that had to be done on the car.
Yes.
How much would you say though, roughly though, that you spent?
In total for the entire trip, we were just about $2,000. Give or take. That was the food, the gas, the staying, lodgings at the hotels. The gas itself was probably about $900 to get there and whatnot. I'm running $60 a tank. I was getting about 450 kilometers a tank, and it's about 8,000 kilometers there. So you're looking at about not quite 10 tanks, or 8.5 tanks, I think it was. I worked it out. So relatively speaking, if you're going to drive out, it could be cheaper and save you money. You get the experience of Canada. You don't have to worry about flying or a rental car at the other end, because you've got all that extra. And if you drive your own car, you can sleep in your own car, take your stuff with you, shop for groceries, stop when you want. You're on your own timeline. So you get to pick and choose how far you want to drive in a day.
Yeah. Now, since you said about flying, though, a lot of people within Canada, I don't know about people overseas, I actually just recently heard about Toronto. We're going to play a little clip right now, and yes, we're going to play it. So I do say thanks a lot, Gillian, for coming on today's podcast. And you guys listen to any of our podcasts, put down so leave comments underneath our podcast underneath here on Podbean. So from myself to you guys have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you guys later.